Hello, and welcome to the Introverted Manager. That's what we will be building together today. Those custom-made funnel charts. They're actually not native funnels from Power BI because those are quite outdated and limited in what you can do. So I found a workaround. There are three types that we'll be building with one category, multiple categories, and the one which is aligned and styled a bit differently. I've almost accidentally came up with the last one. Let me make a new page and let's start. Let's style it right away. I will change canvas background to something, let's say gray with a bit of transparency. Okay, just so that our visuals stand out a bit. And all of them are based on column or bar stacked charts. Again, not native funnel chart. So let's do that. For vertical one, you will need to add stacked bar chart. So let's do that. Let's put it in the middle and let's make size as a bit bigger. Right, let's align it. Middle, center. Amazing. Okay. Hello, baby. That's what happened when you allow cat into the room. Okay. So the first thing is, let me show you my simple table. Just some dummy data, so don't make much of it. Stage, count, conversion rate, customer group. That's all. Let's add stage as our y-axis. For now, you will not be seeing much, but let's proceed. And for x-axis, we will need to add our count. Okay, so you already see bars, right? But it doesn't really look as what I showed you before, right? We still have lots of steps ahead of us to do so. So we need to push all of the bars to the middle, right? For this, you will need some extra measures. In this case, you will need one extra measure, which I called the gap mid-aligned. Let me walk you through this measure. So what it does, it takes current stage. Then another variable I have here is sum of the count. Then it finds maximum value for all of the stages. As you can see here, I'm using all and finding maximum value, and this is important because then we need to come up with some values that will be pushing certain bars and only certain bars closer to the middle. And then I'm applying logic. If current stage is not blank, because we don't want to generate some random values, take maximum value. Let's say, for example, total market, as you can see, is our maximum value. And then, let's say, this is our maximum value, and we're in a prospect. Multiply prospect by 0.5 or divide by 2, all the same. So take half from that and deduct this number from maximum value, which means it will add gap on the left. And if you go further, bigger gap, bigger gap. Let me add this measure onto our bar chart. Let me add it first here, okay. But if we move it to the first one, this is already producing the effect that we might want, right? Don't get confused. As you can see, colors have changed. But our middle one is the one that we want. Okay. But currently, from what I can see, it also changed the order. For this, you have to have another measure. You need to specify specific order. For this, I have another measure, stage, sort order, and it's a simple switch statement based on selection. If it's total market, it's the first stage, prospects second, leads third, sales fourth. You will add it as tooltip. Let's add it as tooltip. Okay, and let's go to sorting, sort axis, choose our measure, and let's do it ascending because we're going from total market to sales. Sales is our last stage, so we need to invert it. And as you can see already, it kind of looks like a funnel, but there's still some styling to do. So let's work on that. First of all, you probably want to hide these ones, right? We don't want to see them. So if you go to bars, let's switch to our gap and let's move transparency to 100 so we don't see it. Now, what I like to do is to turn off grid lines. In this case, they don't give much value. What else we can do here? We can turn off x-axis labels because they will be confusing users. So let's do that as well. What we can do, also turn off legend. Okay, let's make it minimalistic. Let's change title to something nicer. We can style it a bit, although it's not mandatory, right? Actually, let me first style background. Let's make it white so it stands out. Let's put transparency to 0. Let's add some visual border, which will be white. And we'll have some round corners, which I really like. Okay. Additionally, we'll add some shadow, again, to give it a bit of depth. And this shadow will be custom. And you've probably seen that shadow that I really like to use from my other videos. So, blur, size, I think 0, distance 0 as well, blur. Okay, looks much better. And let's add some padding here. Okay, I usually add even padding from all sides, so let's do 10, 10, 10, although it's up to you. And for title, now let's change it to, let's say, the funnel, I don't know, Dean, black, maybe not black. Already looks much better. Okay, so what else do we want to do? We probably want to add some ribbons, right? So it looks like a funnel and they're connected, as you can see. And that's already a sneak peek how we're gonna achieve the last one, the right light one, although not all of the tricks that you have to apply. So we have ribbons. Let's turn off the ribbon for the gap. Okay, let's remove it altogether. For the other one, let's maybe add some border. It's really up to you how you style it. So, okay, some border. And what we can do here, if you switch back to all, we can add some space between that. which I think creates nice effect. And the other thing that we want to do is probably, let's add data labels, correct? Yes. And there you are. If you want to make horizontal one, what you need to do is to use column chart instead. The technique will be the same. And that's how you achieve this. But if you look here, I also have, and I'm not sure why I'm looking to the right. If you look here, I'm also having some extra labels, right? So values here, stage, and the rest, some extra metrics. To achieve this, again, we'll have to use some trickery. Let me add here, I have label empty space. Simple measure, which you have to tune based on your data and the values that you have there. Maybe you will have to make it dynamic. In my case, it's static, 50,000. This is to add space on the left, static space on the left from the bars. So let me add it and let me move it to as the first one. Okay, and you can see already it adds some static space. If we go to styling, so first of all, we should remove ribbons specifically for this one, right? We don't want that. Second of all, we should remove bars as well. We don't want that either. So we'll put transparency to 100. Third, we probably want to add some labels there. What we can add there is, let's see, let's add stage name. Okay. Let's make it smaller so it fits. Again, you can play with the width of this static one. And we want to add some extra stats, right? So for this, I will switch to values and switch measure to, let's say I have here conversion rate label. Give me a second, I will show you what this measure is about. And we'll need to switch layout to multi-line. So they're both displayed. And despite you seeing that here, I have darker color, it still does not show up. I think it's a bug that I experienced, but let me try switching color again, and now it does show up. So it is indeed a bug. Now we have duplicate, right? So we need to turn off labels for the y-axis. Let's do that. And here you go. You have a really nice funnel, which looks magnitudes better than the native one. Actually, let me add alongside this native one so we see how it would look otherwise. Category, stage, values, so total count. And that's pretty much everything you can do with it. You cannot style it better. I mean, you can still style it a bit better, but I think the ones on the left looks a bit more modern. And also it gives you flexibility to play with labels. Okay, let's move on to multiple categories one. So let me make another page. I'll duplicate this one, not to start from scratch, right? We already walk the walk. Let me put it here. And instead of sum of count, you will have to have separate measures for all of the categories of data that you have there. Meaning, for example, let's look at the data that I have here. I have whales, mass market, niche customer groups. And I want those customer groups to be separate in a funnel. For this, you will have to have separate measures. Here I have mass market count, for example. Okay, calculate sum and just filter in by customer group. And we will switch that sum of count, let me delete it, and let me add instead my categorical measures. Stage whales. You can play with placement, whichever you want, first, second, and third, up to you. Let's see, example this way. We can play with colors, but you get the idea, right? And the rest works automatically, so you can play with it. I think the measure that I didn't show you is conversion rate label. Okay, it's a simple measure here. It takes first on blank from conversion rate column that I have here, otherwise return 0. Right, and there is static symbol. In your case, you probably want to make it more dynamic to calculate difference between the stages. In my case, I went with simple static measure, right? And I already have this conversion rate column here. And let's move on to right aligned one, the last one that I have here. And what I will do, again, copy the page, not to start from 0. We need to push it all the way to the right. So our measure, which pushes all of the stages to the middle, will no longer work. We need to apply some different logic. To do this, well, I have another one, the gap, right aligned. What it does instead is takes maximum value, and that's the only difference, is how it calculates the spacing. Takes maximum value, multiplies it by 2, and removes current value. It was almost an accident. I came up with that through trial and error. So let me add, or let me replace the one that we have there right now. And you see already that it pushes everything to the right. So the only thing left is just to do some styling. As you can see here, I tried to do it a bit differently, and maybe let me make it a bit wider so you see. I tried to find a way to style it differently. Okay, so again, we're going to styling. We're removing bars for our right aligned measure. Let's put transparency to 100. You can see that for ribbons, instead of completely removing them as the last time, I thought, that kind of looks nice. We can play with that. So let's do them more transparent. And maybe I'll change color altogether to something, let's see, yes, something that will, you have to balance the color scheme in this case. And our labels, let's move them to our gap, so they nicely fit here. Let's do that. Let's switch to data labels. Let's switch to gap right aligned. Let's switch values to conversion rate label. Again, for some reason, I'm experiencing this bug where it wouldn't appear unless I change the color explicitly. And let's add stage title. Series name, is it the color again? It is the color again. Let's just series name to custom, and let's switch to stage. Stage, you probably want, if you want, change layout to multi-line if you want them to display this way. Okay, let's remove the empty space measure and our labels will disappear themselves. And we see colors changed, so let's fix the color for niche mark. Or actually, you can use it as a highlight. If you want to highlight specific category, it can stand out this way. Subscribe and see you in the next one.